Today's video is brought to you by patriotpost.us. They are a fantastic source of news and information, and a link for them will be in the description box. So when you head over there and subscribe, tell them that ABL sent you. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Washington Post and their crazy headline about the terrorist leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. Now, there's a whole lot to quote-unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say, but first, I got to set the stage so you understand what's going on in some kind of context. And like I said, al-Baghdadi was the leader of ISIS. They had been terrorizing the entire Middle East for a very long time, and there was an operation led by the U.S. to get him out, to kill him, or whatever the case may be. Donald Trump said earlier today that al-Baghdadi was chased like into a tunnel that he had, and he blew himself up with a suicide vest, and he took 3 children with him. Now, he's dead. He was 48 years old. Of course, you're going to have news agencies all over the world, all over the country that report on this, whether on television, in the physical newspaper, on an online paper, whatever it is. And Washington Post, which is, by the way, owned by Amazon, Jeff Bezos, but I digress. Washington Post, of course, reported on the story. There have been 3 different headlines, not 2 like you may think, but 3 different headlines. The first headline was really on point. It made a lot of sense, but then again, maybe it didn't. I'll get to that in a moment. Let me just go ahead and read it for you, and we'll continue on. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Islamic State's terrorist-in-chief, dies at 48. Okay, so he was a terrorist. Islamic State, okay, cool, we got everything right there. The problem is when they said terrorist-in-chief, which is kind of a play on the term commander-in-chief, and that'd be the president, and our president here in the USA is Donald Trump. So it would be easy for Trump and a lot of other people to attack Washington Post on the in-chief part. You see what I'm saying? So they didn't want the backlash, in my opinion, from that. So what I think happened was somebody at the top, or people at the top, went back to those that are in charge of writing the copy for the headline and said, hey, this is too much like commander-in-chief, we got to change it. But see, there's such a culture of Trump derangement syndrome, people hating Donald Trump so bad that when they say go and change it, and maybe they're not being very specific, maybe they took that as, well, we got to just not call him a terrorist. We got to just be real light and fluffy with him. Okay, because let's not forget, Islam is very well protected over here in the West in terms of articles that are written about it. I mean, you've seen things like this before. This ain't the first time. Washington Post especially, they were very soft on the Pulse nightclub shooter, on the San Bernardino shooter. They've been like this before, so that person or people that are in charge of writing a copy for the headline may have taken the directive as change it to be more soft. Again, that's totally my opinion, but it does make sense. The headline was changed into the one that has gone pretty much viral, and I'll place that on the screen before you. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, austere religious scholar at helm of Islamic State, dies at 48. Austere religious scholar, really? Is that what you want to call him? Not terrorist, not dangerous person, not rapist, because let's not forget, this whole thing that happened here, it had a name, and the name was of a woman that was an American that was kidnapped and raped repeatedly by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Okay, so this, you can't just call him an austere religious scholar. Okay, you can go to school and do whatever you want, but if you kill 100 people, is that how you're going to be remembered? Is that how you're going to be referred to as? Like, let's say, for example, a guy like Jeffrey Dahmer was an austere scholar. He went to school, was very smart, whatever, but he actually killed and ate human beings. Are you going to call him a scholar, bachelor of science or whatever? Or are you going to call him a serial killer and a cannibal, which is what he was? Okay, let's just be clear on that, but I digress. After the crazy, just, fantastic backlash to the headline, they had to change it again. And then they called him an extremist leader. Still not really saying terrorist, but I digress. I think the general point here is that the Washington Post and a lot of these other, so-called news outlets like CNN, ABC, NBC, etc., they all have kind of a Trump derangement syndrome culture. It may not even be all of those that work there. You got regular, everyday normies that don't really want to get involved in the whole TDS thing. They just want to do their job. They may have been there 30, 40 years or however long they've been around before TDS struck, and they were not really into the divisiveness that these papers exude nowadays, but they got to deal with it now because this has pretty much become their life. Because like at CNN, you got Jeff Zucker, who has pretty much gone off the deep end into Trump derangement syndrome land. As we saw in the Project Veritas tapes, a lot of the longtime employees that have been there 20, 25 years, they're not even really with it. It's like, okay, man, I just got to come here and work. They sound kind of depressed. The morale is low. Because on one hand, they know that their form of media is dying. Okay, print media, these, subscription-based websites like Washington Post, New York Times, etc., they're failing. They're not really doing very well. And the only way for them to really get any kind of notoriety or attention or money into their pockets is to go down this whole Trump derangement syndrome road. Is to be real soft on Islam when they commit acts of terror. That's pretty much where they find themselves, and they may not like it. So I can't really put it all on them. I think it's all about the almighty dollar and the big wigs at the top of the whole food chain that are running the operation. Okay, it comes straight from the top. Okay, be soft on Islam. All right, so you have articles that come out with stuff that pretty much excuses behavior when it comes from Islamic extremists. Okay, hate Trump. And then they come out with headlines that kind of, throw little dog whistles and jabs, terrorist in chief, it's that and the third. Okay, that's pretty much how this thing goes, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the second headline, not the first, the second headline was appropriate to call Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi a quote-unquote austere religious scholar? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or was the first headline appropriate, terrorist in chief? How about the third and so far final headline of extremist leader? Why must these news organizations go through links like this to not give Trump any credit, to try and downplay Islamic extremism? Is it because of money, or is it because of something else? Is it a thing that they're being influenced by on a personal level? What's really going on? I think it's all about money. Maybe they're being funded by some of these, favorable Islamic terrorism groups, like some foreign governments, like the Young Turks are, but I digress. It could be that, or like I said earlier, it could be about trying to drive those subscriptions to get their failing operations a little bit of life until they completely fall away when those of us that are on the alternative side of things really take over in the very near future. Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.